Howdy, howdy, and welcome everybody. I'm Egonomicon, and this is just a quick little video about Elder Scrolls Online add-ons, hopefully to help you with some of the settings, some of the different add-ons and stuff like that. So one of the first add-ons I want to cover is Sky Shards. It's a map add-on, and what it does is it shows you sky shards on the map. Very handy. When you get the sky shard, it will disappear. And you'll no longer see it on the map. Like you see, there's not really a lot of sky shards here because I've already got them. Okay, the next one I want to cover is lore books, and you might have saw it on here. It shows lore books on the map, and again, same thing. Once you get them, it removes them from the map. Now, something to keep in mind is sometimes there's the same lore book in multiple locations. So just because there's a lore book that shows for, say, somebody and you haven't been to that area and it's not shown for you if you're grouping together, that just means you actually already have that particular book. That's all. Next one is Lost Treasure. Let me see here. I don't think I have any treasure maps on me. Actually, I do. A Betnik treasure map. So let's go ahead and take a look at Betnik. Small, tiny island. There we go. And it's not actually showing it, but what it does is it puts an X on the screen wherever you have a, nope, let's not travel there. Let's zoom in a little bit. There we go. Like here, Glenumba Treasure Map 4. So it shows the X right where the location is to make that easier. And then there's Harvest Map. Now I have them turned off except for treasures and the Thieves' Troves right now. But Harvest Map shows the resources on the map and their locations. And it clutters it up too much. You think this looks bad? You can't see anything when you have all of the different resources on the map. So you can turn that off, and I'll go over some of that in the settings in a minute. And it also shows resources on the on your compass up top here, and it shows them in game as a pin. Let me see if I can get out of town here. Oh, there was some. There was some. You see at the top the little flower icon, alchemy icon right there. And that just shows you where it's at right there. So it makes it easier to locate, and then you don't have to waste a skill on making them glow in game. So that's pretty much it for the map add-ons, I would suggest. I mean, there's numerous ones there, but those are the ones that are convenience of life necessities as far as I'm concerned. Another one is Awesome Guild Store. Now, currently I'm actually using Guild Store Search Extended, which is pretty much the same thing. But what it lets you do is when you go to the Guild Store, you can see here that it shows you you have different filters you can apply. Make sure that when you change these filters that you change them back. Otherwise, when you search for something, it may show blank and you may not be realizing it. Now, this works really well with Master Merchant and Tamriel Trade Center for keeping a list of the different prices and showing you whether the values are high or low on average. The thing about Master Merchant, Harvest Map that I want to mention real quick is there's actually a bat file inside the add-on folder under Harvest Map. You want to run that, and that will automatically download all of the resource locations for the maps. Otherwise, it's only going to put a pin when you've actually harvested the resource for the first time, or the chest, or the Thieves' Trove. So I find it useful to run that, to download that file, much like Tamriel Trade Center has a client folder inside the Tamriel Trade Center folder in your add-ons folder. You run that. I highly suggest you create an account so it can upload your guild's data to help keep it accurate. And what that will do is if someone asks for a price in chat, you would right click the item and let me see here, just like right click this, stat to chat, price to chat, there we go. And then if you look, it basically priced it to chat, and of course there's no value on it. So let's see this. Here we go. There we go. TTC price, Betnick treasure map suggested 98 to 122, 249 listings. So that way you can, when someone asks for a PC, you can also just move your mouse cursor over it, and you see you get these nice little master merchant market statistics there as far as sales and stuff. Now, master merchant only records from your guild. So your guild stores, whichever guilds you're in and stuff, it will record from there, and that's where it gets its data from. Tamriel Trade Center is more accurate because it actually gets it from a database of everyone that uploads their data, basically running the client and has an account. Now let's move on. We've covered Master Merchant, Guild Store Search Extended, and Awesome Guild Store, because that window I showed you, they're pretty much interchangeable. I just prefer myself the Guild Store Search. Actually, I currently have them both loaded, but Guild Store Search seems to overwrite with this functionality, Awesome Guild Store. Okay, now let's cover Writworthy and Lazy Writ Crafter. So I've already got the writ from that board before I started the video. So I left this one open. So this is how easy it is to do writs. You open it up. You can see that it gave you all of the writs here. Now, something to keep in mind is it will not do alchemy or provisioning for you. So you'll have to do that yourself. However, let's look at enchanting. So my enchanter writ for today is to acquire the potency rune and craft grand glyph of health with Ta. The Ta is going to be kind of expensive, but you see here, automatically did it for me. That's all I got to do. So now over here, I'm going to have to come here, and it's going to want Ravage Stamina, I believe it was. So I'm going to have to manually add everything in, and let's see. Ravage Health. I know I have some Ravage Stamina. There we go. And then Ravage Stamina. There we go. So you do have to manually craft these, but that's still not bad. Okay. And then come over here, since I already have my woodworking writ, and just do this. And I'm not doing anything, it's automatically crafting it for me, and it shows you the materials required at the top. If you don't have the materials, it won't make it, and it'll tell you that you have a shortage and what you need to get. So nice, simple, very easy to use. Okay, and just go and do the clothing one real quick. And that's pretty much it. Then you'll run over here, or wherever your turn-in is, and turning it in and opening the packages are pretty much just as automated. It really does speed up the process for writs. So you can do it with multiple ops without a problem. So there you go. Didn't have to do anything. Automatically takes it for me. Automatically takes it and opens it, by the way. You can see in the lower right-hand corner of my screen. You might also notice buff bars, and I'll get into those in a minute. And there we go. Nice and simple. And that's it. Then you would go in, you look at this, and this is all the stuff you got. So, pretty profitable, pretty handy. Of course, this is during the anniversary event, so we get these nice lit, nifty Jubilee gift boxes, which I'll open real quick. And it's that simple. Now I'd like to go through a couple other add-ons I had that I find personally useful. Okay, so first of all, when you install an add-on, it goes, you either manually install it by going to like ESOUI.com, getting the add-on, unzipping it and putting the folder in your documents folder. You'll have an Elder Scrolls online folder, then a live folder, then an add-ons folder, and you put them in there. That can be, I mean, it's not hard to do. However, every time an add-on updates, you got to find out, you got to go through, you got to re-download it. So what I use is Minion from MMOUI.com. It downloads the mods from ESO UI and will also keep them up to date. You just have to run it periodically. I run it every couple days just to keep all my mods up to date. Also, you can use it to install mods or add-ons from. Now, for add-ons, one thing you want to do is, I mean, you may or may want to. I click Allow Out-of-Date Add-ons, because some of the add-ons that I use, like Guild Search Store Extended, is technically out of date, but it works flawlessly. So I highly suggest, like Lost Treasure, again, out of date, yet no errors, works flawlessly. So that, again, is hit Escape, click Add-ons after you've installed them, and allow out-of-date add-ons. Now, most of these add-ons have settings that you can change. For instance, I mentioned the Harvest Map add-on. Well, what you want to do there, because you cannot see your screen when you have when you've downloaded everything from Harvest Map, so it really is difficult. So one of the first things you're going to want to do before you change settings is look and see if the add-on has like an account-wide setting or global setting. Turn that on. Then you can make changes for every one of your characters, just changing it once. Otherwise, you're going to have to make those same changes every time. So that can get to be a bit of a pain. So what I've done here is to turn it off on the map. I've turned it off, and resource pins above POIs I've turned off, and I've turned them off for every single thing here, except for thieves pins, justice containers, stashes, and treasures, like I mentioned earlier. Now, if you turn all of that off, you're not going to see it on your compass up top, and you're not going to see it in game. So one thing you want to do at that point is go to any menu. I use C, where you can get to these things. Click Harvest Map, and then you want to turn back on 3D pins and turn back on the compass pins for everything you want to show. That way you can see it in game. Now, it also has this farming tour thing where you can set certain things, and it'll kind of show you a route to go. I don't personally use that. Don't think that it's very important to use. So go back in here, settings. Another one that I really find very useful is Joe groups, and you can see that up here. Basically, it changes the group frames, and you can set different colors for different things. I currently have tank set to red, healer set to bright green, and DPS is set to yellow. So when I'm in a group, I can easily see who's who without having to worry about it. I've also increased the font size to 20 just for myself because I think it's easier to see, and I find this much easier for myself to keep track in groups and stuff like that. Whether you're the tank, the healer, DPS, off tank, off heals, you can kind of see like, oh, I need to put up a group shield because the healer's taking damage, or tank's taking damage and healer's out of mana and stuff. So it really just helps. Another one that I find very useful is the buff bars. These are the example auroras and buff bars essentially, and you can move these around. You can put them in different groups, like this is group 1, I think this is group 4. Yeah, group 4, ground effects, player debuffs. So you can move different things around in different areas. You can also just turn this off. Like for passives, I've turned those off so I can't see them. And you can also move them around by clicking unlock. You can see you can move these around wherever you want. Just grab that pin and you can move them around. Again, also, profiles here, account wide. You first of all enable profile management, then turn that on. That's very, very important if you want to not have to make an adjustment for every single character. Let's see here. Um, this is also another good one. These are for the action bars. You might see at the bottom here my action bars, my stamina, my health, and stuff like that. That's very important for me. Again, font size 20. That way I can see everybody. Also, the target window's changed. I like that a lot better. That way it can... it's just easier for me to see instead of the default player bars. Again, these aren't necessary add-ons like the first ones I mentioned, in my opinion, but they're necessary to me. Another good one is Trait Buddy. Now, Trait Buddy is very handy for going here, opening up your crafting table, and then you can click, as soon as I get my mouse, there we go. You can click to see which traits you have and don't have, so it's a lot easier to keep track of everything. And then you can also from here change characters to see who has what, go to different things. You can see I started as a clother, so I have far more of those, obviously being a caster with this character who's my old main, but now my dedicated crafter. I have most of the clothing done, very little of the medium set done. I really need to work on my belts and shoulders quite a bit, especially as high as my crafting skill is. It takes forever for these to research, and of course woodworking's pretty much the same way. So these are your styles, so you can keep track of who has what. You can see I have quite a few, but of the older ones, but not a lot. I mean, a few, but I'm working on it. This is your set list. Shows you what the sets do. This is very handy. Now, it doesn't show you... oh, yes, it does right there. 6 traits required for hunting set, 2 required for innate annexation, etc. 9 for eternal hunt. And this shows you who's working on what right now and what's being researched. So this comes in very handy. Okay, that's pretty much it. I mean, you can see I have a Excel spreadsheet where I have a list of some of my add-ons that I prefer, like combat indicator. This pretty much just tells me whether I've got aggro or not. ESO master recipe list, very handy for showing all the recipes and stuff in the game. So again, very handy. Guild store search extended. Handy. Awesome guild store, pretty much the same, handy. Arches enhanced crafting also comes in handy. Pretty much all of these you'll find to be very worthwhile and important convenience mods. Now, before I end the video, one thing I want to show you are just some settings that I make on every one of my characters. One of the first things I do is go to camera. Personally, I turn off head bob and screen shake. That's just me. I up my field of view all the way. Again, these are just my personal settings. You don't have to use them. It's just a suggestion. Nameplates, I turn on nameplates, and everything else is pretty much default from there. I don't change any of these. Social, I change text size to 20, and you can change the guild font so you don't, or guild coloring and stuff for the chat, so that you don't get them confused and stuff when you're chatting. I also turn on ability bars to always show, attribute bars to always show. Now, if you don't use a add-on like I do for your ability bars or attribute bars and your group window, you'll want to turn resource numbers on for number and percent. That way, otherwise you see how I have the numbers there, you won't see any numbers, you'll just see the bar. Now, if you like a minimalistic setup, that's great and that's perfect, but personally I find it much easier to change those. I forgot here, auto loot, and I believe that was under gameplay. Yes, gameplay in the item section. I always personally turn on auto loot. Sometimes when you're looting and you go to push all and you're in combat or something, you might accidentally use your ultimate. So besides, I'm a bit of a pack rat, so I always auto loot. I don't auto loot stolen items, but with my rogue character, my Nightblade, who is also really into stealing, it's very profitable. I might actually start turning that on. Although sometimes I like to see what's there. So that's pretty much going to do it. Just a quick down and dirty little video so that you guys can kind of see some of the add-ons. I suggest you tinker with some of the settings yourself. You can always just remove the add-ons in their entirety if you really mess up settings, or most of them have a way to just a button to reset them back to defaults. So that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching. Take care. Bye.